This is Hidden History on WJTV 12.
Thanks for staying with us as we explore the South's hidden history. Mississippi is the birthplace of blues, rock and roll, Faulkner, and comeback sauce. But perhaps one of our most significant contributions is the activist who pioneered the civil rights movement.
One particular and influential voice of the era credits Mississippi and the South for an upbringing that gave her the strength to lead even as others were failed by violence. WJTV's Nate Holmes shares her story tonight.
I didn't choose the movement chose me.
Leader, pioneer, civil rights activist Flonzie Brown-Wright. Born and raised in Madison County, she credits her success to her Southern upbringing.
I come from the stock where people believed in hard work, work ethics, work values.
After spending some time in California, Wright, formerly Flonzie Brown Goodloe, moved back to Mississippi in 1962 with her 3 kids. For about a year, Flonzie spent time in Biloxi. That's when her work started.
I found myself one evening at a church in Biloxi at a freedom meeting. I was in Biloxi when Medgar Evers was assassinated, and that was really my defining moment.
Flonzie came back to Canton in '63. During that time, the city had a high potential of black voters. She was offered a position as branch director of the NAACP office in Madison County. The main agenda, getting blacks registered to vote.
Going door to door and leading marches to the courthouse and teaching people about this 21-item questionnaire and all the things that came with that time period.
But it wasn't easy. Many times she was a one-man band.
On any given day when I would come to work, there could be 2 or 3 truckloads of Klansmen sitting out in front of the door of the NAACP office. Many times I would come to work and the Klan would have put under my door a card, which is in my book, that said the eyes of the Klan are upon you.
There's one event in particular Flonzie will never forget during her tenure as branch director. James Meredith's 1966 March Against Fear.
As he walked down Highway 51 through the Delta areas to try and encourage people to go out and register and vote, that was the primary focus. The second focus was to demonstrate to the world that a black man could in fact walk down a Mississippi highway without any harm befalling him.
But on the second day, Meredith was shot in the arm. Word quickly got out, and marchers decided to finish his walk. But they needed Flonzie's help.
About 2 days before they reached Canton, my telephone rang. And of course, I answered in my usually energetic voice, and the caller on the other end said, "Is this Flonzie Goodloe?" And I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "Well, this is Martin King." I said, "Well, good morning, Dr. King. How can I help you?" He said, "Well, as you know, we're on our way to Canton, and we'll be there in 2 days, and someone has told me that if I wanted to get something done in Canton, I need to call you."
After rallying up the community, Flonzie was able to coordinate food and lodging for 3,000 marchers. Flonzie introduced Dr. King on the steps of the Madison County Courthouse.
I had the opportunity to take Dr. King around Canton. Then he said to me, he said, "I want some soul food," because I guess he had eaten enough bologna sandwiches. He said, "I want some soul food." I said, "Let me call my mother." Dr. King and his members there ate at my mom and dad's table. And we talked about that for years. And the dishes that Dr. King ate out of, I'm going to donate them to the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum.
Later that evening, organizers held a strategy meeting about the next march. That day, Flonzie made a promise to Dr. King.
He said, "My days are numbered. I'm not going to be with you very long. But what I want the 12 of you to do is to make me a vow that when I'm gone, not if I'm gone, but when I'm gone, that when you see racism, when you see injustice, when you see discrimination, that you will call it out." In that meeting with Dr. King, my purpose was clearly defined.
After King's visit, Flonzie decided to run for election commissioner in 1968.
We had by that time registered enough black people in Madison County to elect anybody.
But the rules were changed right before the election.
Prior to my election, only the person from Beat 1 had to campaign in Beat 1. But then when it came in the news that a black woman is now qualified to run for an election commissioner's position in Madison County, they changed the rules and required that I run in all 5 beats of the county. And then I beat them all.
The next day, Flonzie made headlines in the paper. Goodloe defeats Riddell, becoming the first black woman to hold an elected position in Mississippi. Flonzie says she faced every challenge head-on, but threatening messages involving her children was frightening.
I had to protect them because they didn't choose what I was doing. When my kids would leave school every day after that call, I would let them get a little head start walking with their friends, and I would drive on another street to follow them home to be sure that they got home safely. And they never knew that until 10 years ago.
After serving 1 term as election commissioner, Flonzie accepted a job as an investigator with the EEOC. She retired after 18 years. She now travels around the country, speaking to students and different groups about her experience and the importance of voting.
If you don't want to vote for you, vote for your grandmother who couldn't vote. Vote for your grandfather who didn't have the right to vote. He had no choice in who was elected. So if you don't want to vote for you, because so many people have bled and died for you to have this opportunity, then you vote for the people who didn't have the opportunity.
Flonzie also documents her story in her book, Looking Back to Move Ahead.
At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I just want one question really raised on my tombstone, on my headstone. Have I done enough?
But for now, Flonzie says there's still work that needs to be done. Nate Holmes, WJTV 12.
Many civil rights pioneers didn't let the possibility of jail or death stop them from fighting.
When we return, we're sharing the story of the most arrested civil rights family in the U.S.
African Americans gained a voice at the ballot box with the 1965 Voting Rights Act. By 1968, 60% of African Americans in Mississippi were registered to vote. We're celebrating Black History Month at the 2 Mississippi museums.